Really a sloppy performance, to be honest with you. It's capable of happening, obviously, in the first preseason game, but not that we find comfort in that. We worked too hard to have the results we had tonight, so it's disappointing. How we work off of it, obviously, will define us, and we'll have a good rep at responding to negativity as we push into our next opportunity. We need to be significantly better. Taking nothing away from the Houston Texans, it's not about what they did. It was about the things that we didn't do or the wounds we inflicted to ourselves. Just looking at it from a special teams perspective, the field position and point standpoint was JV. We had a block in the back on a kickoff return. From a field position perspective, we ran out of bounds without being forced on a punt that provided awesome field position for them. We had a bad snap on an extra point. We muffed a punt that produced 7 points. And so you can't play football like that and think you're going to be in games. Really, it's amazing we had the ball in a one-score game at the end when you consider those things. On offense and defense, I thought we were JV on possession down football. Maybe 1 of 7 at one point on offense. Not good enough. A couple of those were sacks. We had them in 3rd and long several times on defense, man, and we lost those downs. We gave up a touchdown on the 3rd and long in the safety rotation. And so, it's some things that we got to do better, some things that we got to tighten up. We went for it 4th and 2 in the tight red. We spent a lot of time in that area of the field from a team development standpoint. We feel really comfortable being aggressive under those circumstances. We had a guy open, we didn't finish it. And so those are just some of the examples of the self-inflicted wounds that kind of characterize our night. We'll assess it, learn from it, and roll our sleeves up and get back to work next week. Bumps and bruises associated with play, we're still assessing some of that. Keanu Benton got poked in the eye and wasn't able to return. We'll have more information about him and maybe some of the others next time we come together. I'll pause and open up for questions.
Mike, how do you evaluate Justin Fields' 3 series?
I thought he did some nice things, but obviously he was a component of the CQ exchange. And from my perspective, that's dual responsibility on the center and the quarterback. It negated a lot of good things going on in those first couple of drives. I think one definitively got stopped by it, went to 2nd and 14. You get behind the chains, particularly at the early stages before you gain real cohesion and have enough of a menu to get you out of them circumstances. You're a dead group. And so the CQ exchanges were an issue.
Did anybody separate themselves from anybody else in terms of the wide receiver 2 position?
I thought we had some good work done by a lot of people. Van, Calvin, Scotty. We had good contributions really kind of in all phases. But as I mentioned in the opening, they were dulled or minimized by some costly errors that were self-inflicted.
Mike, Peyton Wilson had a lot of snaps. What did you think of his performance tonight?
I thought he did some really good things. I saw he made a tackle on punt there early. He was active on defense, but I think it's kind of reflective of the production that we've seen from him in Latrobe. So I don't know that any of us are surprised by it. I thought it was a good start individually for him.
Seems like I heard Beanie Bishop's name called a few times. And does it solidify your confidence in Beanie Bishop in terms of?
It does not. I thought he did some good things tonight, but we got a lot of work in front of us and opportunities for a young guy like him to really, round out his game from a detailed perspective.
Fields seemed to get the ball out of his hands quickly, going to receive.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Fields.
Yeah.
So were you pleased with the way that he was moving, getting the ball out of his hands, executing the offense?
No question. I thought, he and we did some good things, but it was just dulled by some of the negativity. But from a rhythm passing standpoint, distributing the ball to people, I thought he and Kyle did a nice job. I don't like the sacks and the one-dimensional possession down moments. We got to analyze that. But from a rhythm passing standpoint, certainly.
How do you think your young lineman looked?
Again, I thought it was some good moments, but we'll analyze it and comb through it over the next 24 hours, and I'll provide better analysis for you after that.
Specifically with Zach Frazier, was he a difference there on that 3rd drive and his relationship with Fields on those CQ exchanges? They looked a little bit cleaner.
Again, I don't know what happened. I hadn't talked to any of the parties involved in terms of assessing blame or assessing the ramifications of the center exchange. Just rest assured it's a fundamental component of the ball. We work it every day. We start our practices with it, and so it's unacceptable.
Mike Leal had a couple of big plays. What did you think of his and Loudermilk's performance?
Leal and Mon Adams, I thought had some splash plays, but again, much like Peyton Wilson, I think it's reflective of their play in Latrobe, and so I don't think any of us are surprised by the positive contributions of some of the people that you mentioned.
Mike, I'm sorry, somebody asked me. Kyle Allen, he's a veteran, he's the fourth or fifth team, but he gets in there. Just what you thought about getting out there and seeing him play.
He looked like a guy that's played some ball, and that's what you expect from veteran backups. They had one in Case Keenum, you know. Those guys get in the game late, man. Their experience usually carries units, and so I'm not surprised by the positive things that he did in play.
Mike, do you anticipate Russ being available next time you're under the lights?
I do.
Mike, your first time to see it in a game live, what did you think of the new kickoff rules?
It was about what I expected. I didn't like the penalty, obviously, that we picked up the block in the back, but we dipped our toe in the water. We got some first-hand exposure to it, and so we'll build upon it.
Anyone else?
Do you think Peyton Wilson might have gotten a little tired towards the end of the third quarter there? It seemed like he missed a few tackles.
I'm sure everyone did.
Were you surprised with what happened with Robert Golden in terms of his retirement from the NFL? Marcus Golden. I'm
I
sorry.
was like, that was a blast from the past.
Yeah.
No, I got nothing to add there. You know, football is a challenging job, man. You got to be all in on it. If you're not, he probably made the best decision.
Mike, this is the first time we saw Arthur Smith's run game with Pittsburgh. Any ideas or thoughts on how Najee did, Warren did, how they're adapting to it?
You know, that component of our development has been really good. I'm comfortable with the trajectory of it, not only in Latrobe but tonight. But again, some of the positive things that we had going on got minimized by self-inflicted wounds. You know, you're fumbling CQ exchanges, putting you behind the chains. You're going to get somewhat one-dimensional, and you're not going to get that run game rhythm that you want. And our first two series were affected by those things, and so it might not be reflected in the stats or what have you. But I like the overall trajectory of the run game.
And then anything on the sacks, or is it too soon to ask that?
I have a better perspective once I look at the totality of the plays.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
We will bring